Nobody respects you. And it's not their fault, it's yours. Right now, at this very moment. You're broadcasting signals that tell the world exactly how to treat you. And most of those signals are screaming, I don't value myself. The harsh truth that no motivational speaker wants to tell you is this. Respect is not something you deserve simply for existing. It's not something people owe you because you're a good person, or because you work hard, or because you've had a difficult life. Respect is earned through one specific action that has nothing to do with anyone else. It's earned by respecting yourself first. And here's what makes this controversial. Most people spend their entire lives demanding respect from others while simultaneously treating themselves with complete contempt. They break promises to themselves daily, accept abuse from people who don't matter, and wonder why the world treats them like they're disposable. The world is simply following your lead. Your life right now is a perfect reflection of how you see yourself. Every relationship you have, every opportunity that comes your way, every door that opens or closes, all of it stems from one fundamental truth that most people never understand. The respect you receive from the world is nothing more than a mirror of the respect you have for yourself. This is not philosophy, this is not theory, this is a law as reliable as gravity. And once you grasp it, everything changes. Think about the most respected person you know personally. Not a celebrity or a historical figure, but someone in your actual life. What is it about them? They carry themselves differently. They speak with certainty. They make decisions and stand by them. They don't apologize for taking up space in the world. Here's what you need to understand right now. That quality is not something they were born with. It's something they developed. And you can develop it too. The moment you decide to respect yourself at the highest level, the world has no choice but to follow your lead. Let me tell you what respect really is, because most people have it completely wrong. Respect is not about being liked. It's not about being popular. It's not about having power over others or making people fear you. Real respect is the natural response people have when they encounter someone who values themselves. You cannot demand it. You cannot buy it. You cannot fake it for long. Respect flows to you automatically when you demonstrate through your actions and your presence that you hold yourself in high regard. Here's the mechanism. Human beings are incredibly perceptive. We pick up thousands of micro signals from each other every single day. The way you walk into a room, the way you make eye contact, the way you respond when someone criticizes you, the standards you maintain when no one is watching. All of these behaviors broadcast a message about how you value yourself. And people respond to that message at a subconscious level. When you respect yourself, others feel it. When you don't, they feel that too. Let me share something with you. Years ago, there was a man named George who worked as a janitor in a manufacturing plant. Every morning he arrived 15 minutes early. His uniform was always clean and pressed. He greeted everyone, from the CEO to the newest assembly line worker, with the same courteous respect. He took pride in his work, ensuring every corner of that facility was spotless. He never complained, never made excuses, and never spoke poorly of anyone. The other janitors mocked him. They called him uptight. They said he was trying too hard for a job that didn't matter. But George continued. He wasn't cleaning floors for the company. He was honoring himself. He had decided that whatever he did, he would do it with excellence, because that's what he demanded of himself. Within 2 years, the plant manager noticed George's attitude and work ethic. He offered him a position in the quality control department. George accepted and applied the same standards. 3 years after that, he was supervising an entire production line. 5 years later, he was promoted to operations manager. The same people who had mocked him were now reporting to him. They couldn't understand it, but George understood perfectly. He had never worked for their approval. He worked for his own. What made the difference? George respected himself enough to maintain standards that others thought were unnecessary. He understood that the job title didn't define him. His character did. He refused to lower his standards based on external circumstances. That's self-respect in action. Now, let me ask you a direct question. How do you measure your current level of self-respect? Here's a simple test. Look at your daily habits. Do you keep your commitments to yourself, or do you break them the moment they become inconvenient? When you say you'll wake up at 6 in the morning, do you do it? When you promise yourself you'll exercise, eat better, save money, or learn that new skill, do you follow through? Every broken promise to yourself is a withdrawal from your self-respect account. Every kept promise is a deposit. Look at how you allow others to treat you. Do you accept behavior from people that violates your values? Do you stay silent when someone crosses your boundaries because you're afraid of conflict? Do you tolerate disrespect because you need their approval or their business or their affection? Every time you accept treatment that you know is wrong, you tell yourself that you're not worth defending. That message sinks deep. Look at your self-talk. What do you say to yourself when you make a mistake? Do you speak to yourself the way you would speak to someone you deeply respect? Or do you use language you would never use with another human being? The conversation you have with yourself is the most important conversation you'll ever have. And it's happening constantly. The cost of low self-respect is enormous. It shows up as missed opportunities because you didn't believe you deserved them. It appears as toxic relationships because you accepted less than your worth. It manifests as under-earning because you didn't value your own contributions highly enough. It creates anxiety and depression because when you don't respect yourself, you feel worthless, and that feeling becomes your reality. But here's the exciting part. Self-respect is completely within your control. You don't need permission from anyone. You don't need a certain income level, a particular job title, or a specific appearance. You can begin building it right now, today, with your very next decision. And when you do, when you make that commitment to honor yourself, everything else begins to shift. Because self-respect is the foundation. It's the ground floor of your entire life. Build it strong. And everything you construct on top of it becomes solid. Neglect it, and nothing else you achieve will ever feel quite right. The question is not whether you can develop unshakable self-respect. The question is, are you ready to start? So how do you actually build this foundation? How do you take the concept of self-respect and turn it into something real, something tangible, something that changes your life starting tomorrow morning? It begins with the most powerful force in your psychological world, the conversation you have with yourself every single moment of every single day. Scientists tell us that the average person has between 60 and 80,000 thoughts per day. That's roughly 50 to 60 thoughts per minute during your waking hours. And here's what matters. The vast majority of those thoughts are about you, what you did, what you should have done, what you're going to do, whether you're good enough, smart enough, capable enough. This internal dialogue is running constantly, like background music in a store. And just like music affects your mood, this self-talk affects everything about how you see yourself and how you show up in the world. Most people speak to themselves in ways they would never speak to another human being. They call themselves stupid when they make mistakes. They tell themselves they're failures when things don't work out. They replay their embarrassing moments like a highlight reel of shame. They predict failure before they even try. This internal abuse destroys self-respect faster than anything else possibly could. Here's what you need to do immediately, starting today. You're going to monitor your self-talk like a security guard monitors cameras. The moment you catch yourself using negative, degrading, or limiting language about yourself, you're going to stop mid-sentence and replace it with something constructive, not fake, positive nonsense that you don't believe. I'm talking about fair, balanced, respectful evaluation. Instead of, I'm so stupid for making that mistake, you say, I made an error and now I know better for next time. Instead of, I'll never be successful, you say, I'm learning the skills I need to succeed. Instead of, nobody respects me, you say, I'm building the kind of character that commands respect. This isn't just feel-good psychology, this is neurological rewiring. Your brain believes what you tell it repeatedly. Feed it respect, and it will help you behave in ways that generate respect. Give this 21 days of consistent practice. That's how long it takes to establish a new neural pathway. 21 days of catching and correcting your self-talk. Mark it on your calendar. Commit to it like your life depends on it, because in many ways, it does. Now, let's talk about standards. Self-respect lives or dies based on the standards you maintain. Your standards are the rules you follow when no one is watching, the lines you refuse to cross regardless of pressure, the quality of work you deliver whether anyone notices or not. These standards form your personal code of conduct, and they are non-negotiable. High self-respect requires high standards, not perfection. Perfection is impossible, and pursuing it leads to misery. I'm talking about excellence. I'm talking about integrity. I'm talking about knowing what you stand for and refusing to compromise it for comfort, convenience, or approval. You need to sit down today and write out your non-negotiables. What will you always do? What will you never do? These become your rules for living. Maybe you decide you'll never lie, even when the truth is uncomfortable. Maybe you commit to always delivering your best work, regardless of whether you're being watched. Maybe you decide you'll treat every person with basic dignity, whether they're a CEO or someone cleaning tables. Maybe you promise yourself you'll never stay in a situation where you're consistently disrespected. Once you establish these standards, your job is to defend them. And here's where most people fail. They set standards and then abandon them the moment maintaining them becomes difficult. Someone offers them a shortcut that requires compromising their ethics. A relationship demands they tolerate disrespect to keep the peace. A job asks them to do something that violates their values, and they fold. Every time you compromise your standards, you tell yourself that you're not worth defending. Every time you hold them, you build self-respect like you're building muscle. It gets stronger with use. Let me tell you about Linda. She worked in sales at a company that sold business software. The culture there was cutthroat. Salespeople routinely exaggerated product capabilities to close deals. They made promises the company couldn't keep. They pressured clients into purchases they didn't need, and they were rewarded handsomely for it. Linda watched this for her first few months and felt increasingly uncomfortable. Her manager pulled her aside one day and told her she needed to be more aggressive, more willing to stretch the truth to hit her numbers. Linda made a decision in that moment. She told her manager that she would work harder than anyone, make more calls, do better research, and provide superior service. But she would not lie to clients. She would not make promises she couldn't keep. If that meant she didn't fit the culture, she was willing to find another position. Her manager was surprised but backed off. Linda's first year was rough. She didn't lead the sales board. She made decent money, but not spectacular money. Other salespeople laughed at her approach. Then something started happening. Her clients began referring her to other businesses. They trusted her completely because she had never steered them wrong. Her repeat business rate was 3 times higher than anyone else in the company. By year 2, she was outselling everyone. By year 3, the company asked her to train new salespeople in her methods. Linda didn't win because she was the most talented or the most aggressive. She won because she respected herself enough to maintain her standards when it cost her something. That respect became the foundation of her success. Your physical presence matters too, the way you carry yourself, the way you dress, how you maintain your health. All of it communicates self-respect or the lack of it. Research shows that 55% of communication is body language, 38% is tone of voice, and only 7% is the actual words. Stand up straight, make eye contact, dress like someone who values themselves. Keep yourself clean and well-groomed. Exercise your body. These aren't superficial concerns. They're visible expressions of how much you value yourself. You don't need expensive clothes or a gym membership at a fancy club. You need to present yourself in a way that says, I matter. I'm worth the effort. When you walk into a room slouching, dressed carelessly, avoiding eye contact, You announce low self-respect before you ever open your mouth. Change how you carry yourself, and you'll be amazed at how differently people respond to you. This is how you build the foundation. Control your self-talk. Establish and maintain high standards. Present yourself with dignity. Do these three things consistently, and self-respect stops being something you hope for. It becomes something you possess. And once you possess it, the whole world notices. Now here's where it gets fascinating. Once you start building genuine self-respect, something remarkable happens in your interactions with other people. They begin treating you differently, and they often can't even explain why. This isn't magic. This is human psychology operating at its most fundamental level. People are reading you constantly, and the signals you send about your self-worth determine how they respond to you. Every human interaction involves an invisible exchange of information. Within the first 7 seconds of meeting someone, people make 11 major decisions about you. Are you trustworthy? Are you confident? Are you someone they should take seriously? They're not making these assessments consciously. Their subconscious mind is processing hundreds of tiny details. Your posture, your handshake, your eye contact, the tone of your voice, the pace of your speech, even the micro expressions that flash across your face. And here's the critical part. All of these signals are rooted in how you feel about yourself. When you genuinely respect yourself, your body language opens up, your voice carries natural authority, your eye contact is steady without being aggressive. You don't fidget or engage in nervous behaviors. You occupy space comfortably. You speak clearly and directly. These aren't things you fake. They emerge automatically from your internal state. The reverse is equally true. When you lack self-respect, your body betrays you. You make yourself smaller. Your voice becomes tentative. You seek approval in every interaction. You apologize excessively. You laugh at things that aren't funny to ease tension. You agree with opinions you don't hold to avoid conflict. And people pick up on all of it. They may not consciously notice these behaviors, but they feel the energy behind them, and they respond accordingly. This is why you can have two people with identical qualifications walk into a job interview, and one gets the offer while the other doesn't. The difference isn't on the resume, it's in how they present themselves. The person with self-respect communicates capability and confidence without saying a word about it. The person without it undermines themselves constantly, even as they try to convince the interviewer they're qualified. The most visible expression of self-respect is boundaries. Boundaries are simply the limits you place on how others can treat you and what you will accept in your relationships, your work, and your life. People with strong self-respect have clear boundaries. People with weak self-respect have either no boundaries or boundaries they don't enforce. Let me be absolutely clear about what boundaries are and are not. Boundaries are not walls. Walls keep everyone out. Boundaries let the right people in while keeping harmful behavior out. Boundaries are not about controlling others. They're about controlling your own participation in situations that don't serve you. Boundaries are not selfish. They're essential for healthy relationships. When you have no boundaries, you attract users, manipulators, and people who will drain you dry without a second thought. Setting boundaries requires courage because it involves risk. You risk conflict. You risk disappointing people. You risk losing relationships that were built on your willingness to accept poor treatment. But here's what you gain: self-respect, healthier relationships, and the time and energy to invest in people who actually value you. How do you establish boundaries? You identify what you will accept and what you won't. Then you communicate those limits clearly and calmly. When someone crosses them, you address it immediately and directly, not with anger or drama, but with firmness. I don't accept being spoken to that way. I'm not available to work on weekends unless it's a genuine emergency. I need you to honor the commitments you make to me. Simple, direct, non-negotiable. Most people are so afraid of setting boundaries that they tolerate years of disrespect. They convince themselves that speaking up would be rude or difficult or not worth the trouble. Meanwhile, their self-respect erodes with every violation they ignore. Let me tell you about Timothy. He was 28 years old when he got promoted to manage a team of 6 people at a marketing firm. 3 of those people had been with the company longer than he had. On his first day as manager, one of them, a man named Gary, who was 15 years older, made it clear he didn't respect Timothy's authority. Gary showed up late to meetings, he ignored deadlines, he made snide comments about Timothy's decisions in front of the team. Timothy faced a choice. He could ignore it and hope it got better. He could try to win Gary over by being extra nice, or he could address it directly. Timothy chose the third option. He called Gary into his office privately and said this, "Gary, I respect your experience and I value what you bring to this team, but I need you to understand something. I'm the manager now, and that means certain things are non-negotiable. You need to be on time for meetings, you need to meet deadlines, and if you have concerns about my decisions, you bring them to me privately, not in front of the team. Can you work within these expectations?" Gary was shocked. He tried to deflect, tried to joke it away. Timothy didn't budge. He repeated his expectations calmly and asked again if Gary could meet them. Gary realized this young manager was serious. He agreed, and something shifted. Gary started showing up on time, he met his deadlines, and over the next few months, he actually became one of Timothy's strongest team members because he respected the boundaries that had been set. The rest of the team watched this interaction. They saw that Timothy had standards and would enforce them. They saw that he did it professionally without being a tyrant, and their respect for him grew. Within 6 months, Timothy's team had the highest performance ratings in the company, not because he was the smartest or most experienced manager, but because he respected himself enough to establish and maintain boundaries. Here's the principle. People will test you, especially when you start setting boundaries for the first time. They've become accustomed to you accepting certain behaviors, and they don't want that to change. They'll push back. They'll tell you you're being too sensitive or too rigid. They'll try to make you feel guilty. This is the critical moment. If you hold your boundary, you earn respect. If you cave, you'll lose it. Communication style matters enormously in this process. You can be firm without being harsh. You can be direct without being cruel. The formula is simple. State what happened. State how it affects you. State what needs to change. When you interrupt me in meetings, it prevents me from contributing my ideas, and I need you to let me finish speaking. No drama, no personal attacks, just clear, respectful communication about your boundaries. There's also something called the platinum rule of communication. You've heard of the golden rule, treat others as you want to be treated. The platinum rule is better. Treat others as they want to be treated while maintaining your own standards. This means you respect different communication styles and preferences, but you never compromise your core boundaries to accommodate them. When you combine self-respect with respect for others, something powerful happens. You become someone people want to be around. You create relationships based on mutual dignity rather than power games or manipulation. You attract opportunities because people trust you. You build a reputation as someone with integrity. And all of it flows from one simple decision to respect yourself enough to expect respect from others. The world is waiting to see what you'll accept. Show it your standards, and it will rise to meet them. Building self-respect is one thing. Maintaining it over years and decades is something else entirely. The difference between people who command respect throughout their lives and those who lose it comes down to one word: consistency. Self-respect is not a single decision you make on a motivated Tuesday morning. It's a pattern of choices you make every single day, especially on the days when no one is watching and nothing seems to matter. Think of self-respect like compound interest in a bank account. Small deposits made consistently over time create enormous wealth. One day of honoring your commitments doesn't transform your life, but 1,000 days in a row absolutely does. The person you become through consistent self-respecting behavior is unrecognizable compared to who you were when you started. This means showing up the same way whether you're meeting with the most important client of your career or having coffee with a friend. It means maintaining your standards on Friday afternoon when you're exhausted just as firmly as you do on Monday morning when you're fresh. It means keeping your word to yourself about the small things, waking up on time, exercising, eating well, managing your money. Because these small disciplines build the character that handles the big challenges. But let's address reality. No matter how much you respect yourself, you will encounter people who disrespect you. This is guaranteed. Some people will test your boundaries. Others will try to diminish you because your self-respect makes them uncomfortable about their own lack of it. Some will disrespect you out of ignorance, others out of malice. How you handle these moments determines whether your self-respect grows stronger or begins to crack. The key is to respond rather than react. Reacting is emotional, impulsive, defensive. Responding is measured, strategic, dignified when someone disrespects you. Take a breath, assess whether this person and this situation deserve your energy. Sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. Walking away from someone who doesn't deserve access to you is not weakness, it's wisdom. Other times, you need to address disrespect directly. When you do, stay calm, state the facts without emotion, set your boundary clearly, then follow through with consequences if the behavior continues. I've asked you twice not to speak to me that way. If it happens again, this conversation is over, and mean it. Your boundaries mean nothing if you don't enforce them. Let me tell you about William. He started a software company that grew rapidly in its first 3 years. Then a competitor launched a smear campaign against him, spreading false information about his business practices online. Friends advised him to fight back aggressively, to respond to every accusation, to hire lawyers and go to war. William chose differently. He issued one clear, factual statement correcting the false information. Then he went silent and focused on running his business with integrity. The competitor kept attacking, William kept building. 18 months later, the competitor's company collapsed due to their own ethical violations. William's company continued to grow because customers had watched how he handled the crisis. They saw dignity under pressure. They saw someone who didn't need to defend himself because his actions spoke louder than accusations. That's the long-term victory that comes from maintaining self-respect when you're under attack. Now, here's something else that matters. You cannot maintain self-respect while disrespecting others. The two are connected. When you tear others down, gossip, manipulate, or treat people as less than human, you damage yourself. Your subconscious knows what you're doing, and it lowers your self-image accordingly. Real self-respect requires respecting the basic dignity of every human being you encounter, and in so doing, respecting the true science of the human being you encounter. Now, this doesn't mean you trust everyone or let everyone into your life. It means you treat the server at the restaurant with the same courtesy you show your biggest client. It means you don't speak poorly about people behind their backs. It means you give people the benefit of the doubt until they prove otherwise. When you lift others up, you elevate yourself. When you tear others down, you sink with them. So here's your challenge starting right now. Today, for the next 30 days, commit to these practices. Every morning, speak to yourself with respect, review your standards, and commit to maintaining them. Present yourself physically in a way that honors your worth. Set and enforce one boundary that you've been avoiding. Treat every person you encounter with basic dignity. Keep one promise to yourself every single day, no matter how small. Track your progress. Write down your wins. Notice how people begin responding to you differently. Pay attention to opportunities that start appearing. Watch your confidence grow, not from empty affirmations, but from evidence that you are becoming someone worthy of your own respect. 30 days from now, you will be different, not because of magic or luck, but because you decided to honor yourself. And when you honor yourself consistently, the world has no choice but to honor you back. That's not a hope. That's not a wish. That's a law. And it starts working the moment you do. Your life is waiting for you to claim it. The respect you deserve is waiting for you to earn it from the only person who can give it to you, yourself. Everything changes when you make that decision. Everything. The question was never whether you're worthy of respect. The question is, when will you start acting like it?